Down the Lens Podcast. Down the Lens Podcast.
Police surrounded the building because we were there illegally, sent in the bailers. They were knocking on doors, we barricaded into this mansion, and I remember filming somebody with an extinguisher trying to spray these bailers to try and keep them out of the doors. And I thought for sure that they were going to be arrested, so I had to do the classic hide the SD cards in your underwear.
Oh, right, yeah, just in case they took the footage from you.
Narrative is not easy.
No.
At all. I think sometimes you might create something that you think, oh my God, this tells a story.
Yeah.
And then nobody else gets it.
And then you kind of you grew out of that role then, and then you were looking to go back more into creative?
Yeah, I think I realized that I was missing more than the creativity, the hands-on approach, perhaps, you know. And
want to be out in the field a bit more, is it?
Yeah, but also, again, as I said, I wanted to improve my skills. I got into this whole industry because I like to create. I like to make things that people can look at and enjoy. And although I was kind of doing it by proxy as a manager, I didn't see that as a long-term kind of solution and goal for me.
Hello everybody, welcome to episode 16 or 17, one of them, I'll find out now. My first international guest, all the way from Italy. Lorenzo, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, it's good. I've been, obviously, I've worked with you on some capacity previously, but obviously you were more videography and I was stuck in the editing suite. For people who obviously don't know who you are, you're obviously based in Cardiff at the moment, but obviously tell me a bit more about your origins and kind of how you got into filmmaking and stuff like that.
Do you want to know the career or just where the whole kind of
everything? So
started?
how you got into, obviously off camera we spoke that you went to like university in Newport, but obviously originally you come from Italy, but then you've done like filmmaking, I'm assuming, in Newport, and then obviously you've gone on to do freelance and then now work for companies. Yeah,
so my interest in video really started when I was 12 actually.
Wow, okay, cool.
And I've been tinkering with cameras since I was a kid because, as it often happens with your mates, you kind of get bored and then, you know, you pick up a camera, and we were all very creative at the time. So it started as a hobby, but I guess around the time when I was 16, because I kept doing it. Even just when I wasn't with my friends anymore, I made like a holiday video essentially.
Okay, like a travel kind of
thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first camera you had, or is it like on your phone kind of job?
A trusty Canon 550D.
Oh, nice. I think a lot of people start on that.
As a classic. It's a workhorse there. But because I was in Australia for an exchange program for a summer.
Nice.
So I made a whole video about that, and I enjoyed that experience so much that I came back and I told my parents, look, all I really want to care about now and I want to do is film video, which was lucky for them because I was absolutely terrible at school.
Your grades weren't up to mark.
No, I barely slipped through the crack. and so they sent me here to Newport studying film.
Yeah.
And I originally I was more into, I had the idea of doing fiction and cinematography and things like that. And actually, funny enough, there was a lecturer at the time who was quite popular in the school called Chris Morris, who was the head of documentary, I believe. And towards the end of first year, because in the 3 years, the first year is kind of all combined, and then you go and select a specialization. He gave this big speech about why we should go and do documentary with him.
Specifically,
And I went into that room not interested at all. I was like, I'm going to sleep through this whole lecture.
Being hungover from the night before student life.
And I left completely convinced, you know. And funny enough, the summer goes through, the summer happens, and then I've obviously signed up for the course. And I get some news that the lecturer, Chris Morris, actually went to a different uni.
Oh, right. So you wanted to do the documentary stuff?
I was sold because it was him.
Yeah.
And then, I ended up doing the course anyway. Ended up loving it anyway. Loads of great experiences. And then through that course, actually, that's what really kick-started my career path, because I started doing videos professionally when I was still in uni. There was a project that we did as for one of our courses that required us to make an ad to put on social media for a company, and then I ended up doing one for Ringmasters, which is here in Newport, which is a boxing brand. They make gloves and things like that. And through that, I got connected to a white collar boxing organizer
Right, okay.
who put me to do a few videos for that.
Nice.
And then from there, it kind of like I started my freelancer journey,
Yeah.
which is, you know,
So did you start your freelance journey within university or after you graduated?
yeah, my first client
Yeah,
was when I was still in uni.
Right, okay.
So towards the tail end of my of my uni course. But obviously, at the start, it was quite hard. You know, I'm assuming you know how difficult, especially the first clients, and just outreach and things like that. And so for about 6 years, while I was trying to get my freelancing career going, I was working on bars.
Right, okay.
I've been a bit of bartender for 6 years, and through there, I ended up working in Depot.
Yeah, Depot, if anyone don't know.
For those who don't know, Depot is
one
of the main, I guess, venues, nightlife venues in Cardiff that organises an event called Bingo Lingo.
Yes, very well known in South Wales.
If you haven't done it and you happen to be in Cardiff, I highly suggest that you go and check it out. But basically, I talked to the owner, Nick, and I asked him if he wanted me to make some videos.
Yeah.
And that's essentially how I really started doing regular work, because that was like almost every other week.
Yeah.
Every event that was happening.
And then you were filming the events for them, was you? And then turning them into social content.
Yeah. There was somebody that did it before me.
Wasn't as good as you?
He was, at the time, for my skills, was impressive. I was actually kind of worried and scared at the expectations.
You'd hit that kind of level,
Yeah. But it was so much fun, and I wanted to, you know, learn and improve so much that eventually I reckon I probably reached this level.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I got better than him, obviously, but I was really proud and really happy with those. It was so much fun making them. Obviously, you get to get on a stage.
I can imagine.
Drink, you know, it was very loose. But
just filming a lot of drunk people making.
Yeah. And actually, one of the things that eventually turned me off of that was exactly that. It was the fact that you were dealing with drunk people, which could be fun, but sometimes they can be a bit annoying. It was like, take a photo, you know.
Yeah,
like,
I find that. I got this one client and then I go and do like nightlife stuff for them. And they say, I'll take a photo. It's like, it's a video camera.
Exactly.
You can't take photos.
I mean, I'm walking around with a massive gimbal, camera on top of it. Obviously, they don't know the difference.
No, they just think you're a photographer.
Plus, they can't probably even see you properly anyway.
So you was doing that at Depot. How long did you do that for Depot for?
I did it for 2 or 3 years,
And that was a freelance gig, was it?
Yeah. And through there, like, I started reaching out to new clients. I did so many interesting projects. I got to do some short documentaries for international clients.
Nice.
There was a company that is well established now called Vitsi. Basically, you could sign up online, and there was a competition. And if you got chosen, the videos that you will make for them would be used for brands like e-commerce brands. Like I did something for DoorDash in America.
Oh, DoorDash!
When they were just getting started,
like an Uber Eats kind of thing.
Exactly. It's literally that. So I got all these little opportunities, and I got to a point where I was I can probably do this full time.
Yeah.
And I was like getting ready with the website, logos, starting proper business and how to get it started and things like that. And in 2019, towards the end of 2019, I ended up getting appendicitis.
Oh, don't wish that upon anyone.
I definitely don't. But it was really sudden, and it actually happened. I started feeling poorly the night before I was supposed to go on a shoot from the client of mine.
Oh, no way.
And basically what happened is I went to bed not feeling well, and through the night I couldn't sleep, and I had to get rushed to the hospital. The hospital, I had a friend of mine call him at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
saying, look, I'm really sorry, he's not going to make it to the shoot. But because of the surgery, I was basically out of the game for a month.
Right, okay.
And a lot of my clients were like live events or like things that required you to be mobile.
Yeah.
And obviously in the time towards the end of 2019, COVID happened.
Kicked you straight in the teeth.
And I didn't know it at the time, but looking back, if I didn't get the opportunities that I did afterwards, I probably would have had to go back to Italy because I had a rent to pay. I didn't have any income at that point coming through because I wasn't working at all. But during that time, I decided to make a show reel. And through an old client of mine, I got in touch with Ryan.
Yeah,
from
Ryan. What's his surname again?
Walton.
Yeah, we both know Ryan. Obviously, you know him way better than me.
Yeah. But he was working solo at the time. He has his own company called Visora, which then turned into what's now Aura Ads. And he really liked my show reel. I applied for the job.
Yeah.
We got along straight away. And this is at the time before there even was the inception of Aura Ads.
Yeah.
It was just, I guess, an idea.
This was the time before all like big social e-commerce brands go in like video as well, wasn't it? It was just before that big wave, especially when it went massive during COVID. Yep. Obviously, you got on the bandwagon just beforehand, got you in place.
The thing about Aura Ads, Ryan's idea was essentially I call it the Netflix of advertising.
Mm-hmm.
Other people described it later in more accurate ways, I think. But it was basically creating ads every single month that you could then repost on Facebook to create engagement for your brand, or like trying to grow your brand, sell more units. And it happened to be perfect idea at the perfect time. As you said, during COVID, the only way people really could sell was online. So e-commerce blew up.
Yeah.
And we found ourselves, at the start, it was just the two of us in a situation where we were kind of working in an industry that didn't really exist before.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because if you wanted to make ads online before, you couldn't really, either you were a small brand, maybe a drop shipper.
Yeah.
Source it the one time, you wouldn't really get a retainer for every single month, and then you would spend a larger amount because there was a monthly thing, like a subscription model. Then the price was diluted throughout time, and so it was more convenient for them, and it was convenient for us because we got to work basically as long for the lifetime of the client that was.
And what was your main responsibility during that time?
When I joined, I was basically doing everything. I was editor, I was scripting, I was filming it, I was editing it.
And how did you find that? Because was you doing that basically before, or did you kind of have to learn these new skills now you're in a different position?
I was doing most of it already. I think the biggest area where I wasn't really experienced was motion graphics.
Right, okay.
That opened a whole new world to me because you've got so much creativity within motion graphics if you take it seriously, but it's also very difficult, I think. There's a very steep learning curve.
Oh, absolutely.
But that was fun. And I'm also somebody that likes learning new things. I like a challenge and trying to see how I can learn something and then apply those learnings to make something that I can be proud of, essentially. Yeah.
And how did you enjoy that time there? Because when I got there, I just come in for like 2 weeks to help you guys edit it, and you were basically predominantly videography, wasn't you?
Yeah. So a few, I'd say 6 to 9 months after I joined, or maybe about a year, we started hiring more people, and we divided our roles. So obviously George, which has been here before, he was taking editing and motion graphics because he was way more advanced than me.
Hot on it.
He was really, really good. And then with another colleague called Bella, who instead took on more the client side like pre-production and things like that. So there was 4 of us, and each of us had our own role within this company. And I'm actually really proud of the fact that, we managed to grow a company very, very rapidly.
Oh, yes.
Just 4 people. I think within the 1 year, I might be chatting shit, but I think we had a projected revenue of about £1 million.
Yeah, I think that's on the website.
Yeah. And, I think we all realized at the time that we were working on something that was going to be big.
Yeah.
And so we were all very invested. We all felt it very much.
Like a lot of hours in. And
absolutely. I remember George one Christmas actually ended up staying, working throughout the holidays just to make sure that we would deliver some of the content because we had all of a sudden loads of clients. Yeah. All of them expecting Q4 content.
And just not having the man hours right there to get it all dished out.
Yeah. Certainly at the start we were chewing on more than
we could eat.
For sure. But I look back at that time very fondly.
Yeah.
It was very creatively stimulating, and it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of freedom. And the clients that we were dealing with, fortunately, also trusted us a lot, which I think is one of the best things that you can have in a client in that kind of space. And it's like the fact that they just...
And then what content were you looking? It was quite a lot of e-commerce stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it's obviously stuff you could purchase and obviously get delivered to your house. How did you find shooting that content? Was it stuff that you... Obviously, you're working for an organisation, so you had to shoot, obviously, what their clients wanted. But did you find you enjoyed that kind of content?
Yeah. So initially, it took a little bit of figuring out because I came from like a narrative background.
Right,
So
storytelling.
Exactly. All I wanted to do was tell stories through 30 to 15 seconds videos. Yeah. Turns out
there's no story.
Well, when you're working in marketing, essentially, the message is certainly more important than the story, especially if I've got only 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And so you've got a lot of restrictions to work within, but sometimes I think those restrictions can actually stimulate your creativity and get you to think outside the box, essentially.
Yeah, almost. You've got a less amount of time to get the story across, so then the shots are so much more specified to get that message through within those 15 seconds.
Exactly. You need to know exactly what every single shot is doing. You need to have a purpose.
Purpose, yeah.
Exactly. And that... we got to make some videos that to this day I look back and I'm still very proud. I remember the first time I saw one of our videos hit a couple of million views, which was a deodorant video. And to this day, I sometimes still get on YouTube, we haven't actually mentioned this, but the ads that we used to make with the annoying ads that you always want to skip on YouTube, or the ones that are sponsored on Facebook and Instagram, right? And I still get sometimes Huel ads that I filmed.
They've had longevity. Yeah, because Huel was one of the big clients, isn't it?
Yeah, Huel definitely one of the main ones, and that they stayed with us for a long, long time, and it was really enjoyable to work with.
So you had there were some cool brands there, wasn't it? And how long did you work for them for?
I think I got to almost 3 years, like 2 years and 3/4.
And what was the decision to leave?
So, as I mentioned, we grew quite rapidly.
Yeah.
In a space of less than 3 years, we went from just me and Ryan to a team of 25 people.
I think it's grown even more now, isn't it? New premises and stuff like that.
I was there when they changed the office. Again, in 3 years also.
I like that office as well. It was cozy.
Yeah. And there's a funny story actually attached to that I'd like to get to in a minute. But I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Why did I decide to leave?
Yeah.
25 people. My role changed substantially because I was essentially the most senior person there, and I became head of production.
Right. Yeah.
So now I had a leadership role with people working below me that needed support in creating their own content, and then it got to a level where I was actually managing 15 people of total of 3 teams.
Yeah.
And it's not that it wasn't enjoyable, but I think it was really taxing. And I was also going through personal stuff at the moment. Okay. So I think at one point I looked back at some of the stuff that I was making. I remember specifically a video that I looked back and I'm like, this looks exactly like a video that I would have made 2 years ago.
Yeah, okay.
So I was a bit taken back by the fact that I had really not grown into what essentially was always my passion.
Yeah.
2 years I had seen no progress.
You come more of a manager role, and you were creating less, were you?
I was very rarely getting involved in filming, and that only happened if there was a necessity to step in for somebody else, which is not that I minded, because I still enjoyed, you can still find creativity even in a management role. And I was involved in so many cool projects. Like, for example, I don't know, you said you've been to the office. I don't know if you've seen the studio upstairs.
I went to the old office.
Okay.
When I come like 3 Christmases ago. It was like top floor, and then you move down there into Schaefer's podcast room and doing stuff in there.
Well, after there, we've moved into an
I've seen like a big premises,
office space essentially, and we took it over, and I got the opportunity to create a brand new video studio.
Oh, sick!
And the funny story about that actually that I wanted to say was, initially the plan was to actually rent out a whole warehouse, and and I had all the plans drawn out by hand.
Dreams coming true.
Yeah, it was like a big kick.
Yeah.
On the bucket list.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, right at the last minute, kind of collapsed because I was doing a bunch of checks and we had everything ready to go. And I called an electrician to come in, and he looks at the building and tells me, you know, that there's no fire alarm in this warehouse, and that's a legal requirement.
Yeah.
And that started a dispute over who should pay for it, get it installed. And that eventually
fell through.
Yeah, the CEO at the time actually found a different place that where we could combine both office and studio.
Shoots, yeah.
So we kind of scaled back on the studio aspect, but I still got to create something that I was quite happy with. And
it was like an in-house studio. Yeah.
We even had like a TV, LCD TV,
sick,
that you could use. A little bit like the volume.
Yeah.
Or Star Wars, where you had the back and then the products in the front, and you had so much flexibility.
That's cool.
With it.
And then you kind of you grew out of that role then, and then you were looking to go back more into creative?
Yeah, I think I realized that I was missing more than the creativity, the hands-on approach, perhaps, and
want to be out in the field a bit more, was it?
Yeah, but also, again, as I said, I wanted to improve my skills. I got into this whole industry because I like to create. I like to make things that people can look at and enjoy. And although I was kind of doing it by proxy as a manager, I didn't see that as a long-term kind of solution and goal for me. So what happened was I actually decided at one point to kind of drop everything.
Right.
I didn't have any job offers. It was not really a decision out of the blue, but it got to a point where unfortunately I wasn't enjoying.
Yeah, it was a long time coming for you.
Yeah, it was something that I was thinking about for a while, and then I went to speak to Ryan and said, look, this is not right for me anymore. I think I need to try and challenge myself in a different sphere, a different area, and I'm confident I can do it. And I was, perhaps overconfident in some ways, because
you've got to have that confidence though to take the next step, really, I guess.
I think sometimes, yes, you need, naivety and a bit of overconfidence, as you said, to do things that you want to do and that you think that you can actually achieve. So I ended up being unemployed for 4 months.
Right, okay.
And I went back to freelancing. I got a little bit of work, but I really wasn't making that much money. And I tried other avenues. I tried affiliate marketing.
Well, you tried all that malarkey, did you?
Yeah. I mean,
how did that go for you, the affiliate marketing?
I was making some money.
Yeah, but
it was hard, and it was also something that you need to put money in to be able to make some back. So it was a big gamble, and when you're not making any money otherwise,
you can't guarantee that the investment is going to see the return.
Yeah, exactly. The money that is going out through rent, expense and things like that is more than what you're actually getting in. It actually really got me into a difficult spot. And, after 4 months, I got to the point where I realized, okay, maybe I should start looking at something else.
Yeah.
And that's how the job that I got now came by at Dacona, which is a video production company that, if we say that Aura Ads was on the smaller budget in terms of how much money is invested per every single video, and then we're looking at the company like maybe Storm and Shelter that actually do CTVs in a proper high spec and commercial, we land somewhere in the middle. And one of the things that I actually like about it is that it's not really B2C, business to customer kind of work and marketing. It's actually business to business, which is, I want to say in some ways maybe more honest. As well. There's a lot more corporate work. I know that you've been doing some of that as well.
Yeah, it's your corporate work that you also have been doing looks a bit more enjoyable than mine.
I think we're lucky with some of the clients that we have, but we also really always try to deliver as best the quality we can, but also trying to make it as creative and enjoyable for ourselves as possible.
So what kind of projects do you work on through this new company now? So our biggest clients, and probably my favorite one, is Premier Inn. Okay, cool.
We work with their internal communications team, and we essentially just create videos that help them reach out to potential partners for investment or for finding the developers to construct the Premier Inns, which gives me the opportunity to travel a lot.
Yes.
You know,
was you up in Scotland recently?
I was in Ireland
For
5 days.
Right, okay.
We just recently finished that project, and that was so much fun. You know, we ended up in an Irish pub, proper old-style Irish
First time
pub.
in Ireland, or
No, I'd been before. Many years ago, but it was so different, you know, because it was before the economic boom, and going there now, it's crazy. It feels like London, but
with an Irish accent.
A little bit calmer, perhaps not as
Hustle and
chaotic.
bustle,
And I really liked the, you know, we had a bunch of people that I contacted to kind of schedule something, and then, you know, we got to this Irish pub where they set up a band for us to play, Irish dancers.
That's cool.
Everybody was loving it, and it was just one of those experiences that I don't think I would have had otherwise if I didn't decide to go maybe down this path. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. You know, it's creating something, but also living experiences that are gonna stay with me. For the next.
And what's your main job role? What's the name of the company?
Dakona.
And what's the main job role that you have within that company?
So the job title is creative, which I think is a little
creative director.
Creative. That's it. Maybe video creative. But in reality, is again, I kind of handle everything. I have almost entire ownership of the clients besides the introduction and discussions.
Got you.
But once everything is agreed, I write the scripts, I do the pre-production, planning, research, filming, and then the editing. Production.
So how long have you been working for this company for then?
At the moment, just over 6 months. I think.
And how are you finding it? You think that's your career path kind of sorted?
I'm liking what I'm doing now. And I would like to see where the company goes. You know, if we can grow and expand that scope. Clients, maybe a bit more diversity. My main interest at the moment is improving my skills and learning new things. You know, I want to improve my camera work. I've recently started learning how to color grade, so I really want to get good at that.
On like a professional level, not like a freelance kind of level.
No, exactly.
It's completely different, isn't it?
I would like to craft images that people look at and think, okay, this could be
cinematic
in a movie or in TV or in a proper commercial. I'd also love to learn how to fly a drone.
Have you ever flown a drone?
No, I'm saving up. I love to get the Avatar.
Okay.
You know,
the
it's super small, and then you got the goggles, and it seems a lot of fun. But I also think it's one of those things nowadays that it's a skill that is very marketable.
Oh yes, 100%.
And a lot of our clients really love our drone stuff. So, and then, just become a better. I guess I'm on the path. Or I like to think that I'm on the path to become a cinematographer. Been a videographer for most of my career, but now I want to take the step up to probably.
It's like shaping light and like obviously the color grade and all that. Yeah, because a lot of people, I class myself as a videographer, but a lot of people maybe only be doing it 3-4 years. They class themselves as a cinematographer.
I think it's a bit of a grey area and a blurred line, isn't it? It's difficult to say. The way I see it, a videographer, you know, I think but maybe the difference is the intent. You know, as a videographer, at least from my experience, often enough you rock up to a location and you just got a vague idea of what you want to achieve. And or sometimes you create the edit on the fly as you're filming things. You know, there's not much of a preconceived thought of what you're going to deliver to your client. You just go there, make something look pretty.
You know the end goal, but you don't know what it's going to take or what shots are needed to deliver that.
Whilst I think a cinematographer puts a lot of time and thought into crafting exactly the image that they want with the meaning that they want, and that it kind of all connects together like a puzzle that eventually becomes a story. So in my opinion, that's more of what a cinematographer is, besides obviously the level of quality. But that said, there's a lot of videographers that can make cinematographer quality content.
Oh yes, absolutely.
But actually, I think
it's hard to label yourself. I find it hard to label yourself as a cinematographer. Like, who gives you the credentials? Like, when do you think you deserve the credentials to call yourself that?
I think
that's the hard thing. I think
maybe if you work on certain projects,
you
end up working on certain things, you can maybe give yourself a pat on the back and say, okay, there's a cinematographer level.
Yeah, but you might be like beginner or something, but you still wouldn't put it in like your description on like your Instagram or anything.
Yeah. I mean, it's a spectrum, isn't it?
Yeah.
And to me, what's funny is I compare myself with the people that I look up to. And sometimes I forget, recently I was talking with a photographer and he was mind blown by some of the stuff that I was telling him about how I do my job, because there's a lot of technical terms or like methods that I use and whatever that to him are just like, oh my God, you're a master of your craft. And in my head, I'm like, mate, I'm definitely not. I look up to people that are way better than me, but sometimes you forget.
Yeah, and what kind of people are you looking up towards? Are you looking up more to like directors or like other videographers within the field, or companies that produce high level content?
Definitely companies that produce a certain level of content, individual cinematographers and DOPs, even just within the Cardiff area. I think South Wales in general is such a nice place to be for this type of industry, because you throw a rock in Cardiff, you're going to hit a videographer. So there's so much to take and learn from, so many people to get inspired by. But then when looking above there, me personally, my ambitions in the future, I would like to maybe move more into like a professional documentary kind of level of stuff. And so one of my biggest inspirations, or somebody that I look up to, is, I don't know if you know, is a YouTuber called Brandon Lee.
Right, okay.
If you don't know him,
I think so.
I recommend you check him out. Unfortunately, nowadays he makes probably more kind of product reviews and things like that, but
go on, get him up on your phone quickly. Show me. I think I know who he is. Is he American?
God, I have to say, I think he might be.
But he does a lot of tech stuff. Was he originally like a videographer of some sort?
Yeah. He used to be featured a lot on Vimeo in the staff pics.
Okay.
With travel videos. But he just has a very interesting... I've got airplane mode. A very interesting approach, I think, to things. And
those are the kind of things you want to implicate into your kind of video.
Yeah, he does a very great job, I think, at mixing images, sounds, music to create a story, or evoke certain emotions from the viewer, which I think is probably one of the most powerful things of creating content, is how you make somebody feel when they consume what you created.
Yeah, that's what I find hardest about like anything that I kind of do, is telling like a story of some sort. Do you find that hard, or do you find storyboarding helps you build the kind of picture you want to portray?
Certainly come into the project with an idea in mind helps massively. As I said earlier, if you prepare it properly ahead, you do your research, you find your inspirations, things like that, then the narrative will evolve naturally. But it's also about talking, to the client or to the people in your team, and kind of like bouncing ideas around, see what works, breaking them down, and then finding eventually the best solution. Narrative is not easy.
No,
at all. I think sometimes you might create something that you think, oh my God, this tells a story, and then nobody else gets it.
Yeah, because sometimes I create something and I feel like there's no story whatsoever in anything that in whatever I created. But then I get someone message me personally, love the story that you told. I'm like, where's the story?
Yeah.
Like, I've just put like my favorite clips together from, like, I spoke to you off camera going to Italy, and I put together like a minute and a half video. There's technically no story. The only story was the beginning of where I went to the trip, the middle, and the end. But to me, there was no story. But I had a friend say, I enjoyed the story that you told. But I was like, where's the story? I appreciate the comment, but
I guess it is also subjective sometimes. Isn't it?
Yeah. It's just hard to tell.
But what I like to do is, certainly, you mentioned storyboarding. I use a lot of tools that are available online to kind of find inspiration and then take that and put it in a timeline.
Right, okay, and what tools are you using for anyone that kind of does that?
So Shot Deck is really good.
Yeah. I've used that once or twice.
Shot Deck, however, just does films.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes that can be reductive. I recently found another one called FrameSet
Right, okay.
that I quite enjoy, which is music videos, advertising, adverts.
So pulls clips, screenshots from those
and
to give
sometimes videos, like short
Okay,
clips,
cool.
like GIFs. And that's incredibly useful. And then I use Millernote,
you. Right.
which is basically an online whiteboard,
Mm-hmm.
which allows you to, there's loads of presets that you can use, but like you can create storyboards, for example, and
Right,
short
yeah.
lists by copying these images and
Yeah, and put them
taking
into
them over. And then you can visualize it. You know, for me, the easiest way to create a narrative is to visualize it by looking at it, literally.
And do you do that and then send that through to the client for them to see as well? So you do it on a professional capacity as well? Or is that more for internal use and you kind of creating the pitch?
Depends on the client, I guess. But let's say for the majority, yes, you would. You know, most of them give us free reign, but then you would need to check with them to make sure that
This concept that you're running with is the correct one.
Because they also want to be aware, obviously, of what it is that you're going to be delivering to them.
Yeah.
And they just want to make sure you don't go balls to the walls, crazy.
Yeah, just mad, completely off topic.
Exactly. Yeah.
Obviously, you're working for a different company now, but we spoke previously. What kind of fun, interesting stories do you have maybe from like your past and some of like the favorite shoots that you've been on that you're quite proud of as well?
So definitely some of the stuff that we did for Hugo.
Mm-hmm.
It was great to see the outreach, how far it went.
Yeah.
Probably some of my favorite videos that I made at Aura were for a company called Wild Deodorants.
Oh, yeah.
They
Like a roll-on deodorant, wasn't it?
Yeah. They actually grew with Aura ads.
That's cool.
When they started, they were very, very new. And then I like to think, at least, that they took a lot of our vision and they kind of implemented it in their brand.
Yeah.
But one of the funnest things was that we were struggling at the start to creatively get across the concept of smell and like enjoyment from the
Product. Like,
the client, from the user. And we ended up coming up with the ideas like, what if the smell literally hit you in the face? So we started throwing food out of our models' faces. There's this video.
Just abusing models.
With meringue pie.
Oh,
Remember
okay.
meringue pie?
Was that the
in
smell
slow
of the
motion? Yeah. And it's like, let the fragrance hit you. Or something like that. And they were just so much fun. It was very messy,
Yeah, I can imagine the cleanup after.
And then you just see the face of some of the models when you tell them, sorry, we're going to do it again.
Take two. Because then you'd have to redo all their makeup and everything, touch up their hair, because they might have like a bit of meringue in it. You're like, for each one, bang.
Long process for a 15-second video.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, for one shot as well.
Yeah. But they work. That's the video that I was mentioning before. That was the first video that I've ever made that I saw getting millions of views.
Yeah.
And still another video for Wild. I actually sometime later found out that somebody copied like completely, like straight up took exactly the same ideas of the model being, there's a forest and she was wearing makeup like a tiger and things like that, and they just copied it straight away. And I was like, okay, that to me is a sign that we're doing something good.
Yeah, I think I've come across stuff that I would definitely replicate was your original stuff, but I've seen other companies use, but I knew that wasn't your clients at the time.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I think because we were coming up with a lot of the ways of doing some of these things earlier on. We were getting success, so obviously people want to try and emulate us. Yeah.
And there's any personal projects that you've worked on? I think you said there was a couple in like university that you were really proud of.
Yes. So I think the project that I'm most proud of that never happened was when I was in my last year of uni, our final documentary, so to speak, where my course mate found out that in London at the time, and you can find this on the newspapers to this day, there was a group of activists that took over and started squatting into this Russian millionaire's house.
Right. I think I've seen it on the news potentially.
And they brought with them a bunch of homeless people because the whole protest was about the fact that in London there's a lot of empty homes.
Yeah. And homeless people on the
Huge,
streets.
gigantic. And so there's a massive problem, obviously, with homelessness. And that was just my take. That was right down my alley in terms of
That's quite
topics
cool
to cover.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's go. I wasn't really sure what to expect. But
So you were on the road ready to press record, like?
yeah, bringing my trusty 550D. There was no gimbals at the time, so I was going around with a fly cam thing.
Oh, yeah.
Crashing my bag. But we ended up going there, and we spent 2 or 3 days with this group of people, and it was
Was you in the house?
Yeah.
Oh,
We
okay,
actually, so there was loads of media that we wanted to cover the story.
Yeah.
We had an insider, and the group told us that we were the only people allowed to go in and film.
That's cool.
And that was one of the most incredible experiences of my life, because I got to meet so many incredible people, and a lot of these are people that you might meet on the streets and you might want to steer clear of.
Like homeless people then?
Homeless people.
Beggars.
Drug addicts.
Yeah.
Criminals to a certain degree as well.
Yes.
But all people
Had a story to tell.
a story and a lot of difficulties in their past. And after 2 days, eventually police surrounded the building because we were there illegally, sent in the bailers. They were knocking on those, were barricaded into this mansion. And, I remember filming somebody with an extinguisher trying to spray these bailers to try and keep them out of the doors. And I thought for sure that they were going to be arrested. So I had to do the classic, hide the SD cards in your underwear.
Oh, right, yeah, just in case they
frisked.
took the footage from you.
Yeah. And unfortunately, the reason why I said that there's a big regret that it never happened is because we created this whole story, and that was supposed to be about final project for uni. Turns out that the main guy that we had in it, that was telling the story of this event, actually turned out to be a sex offender.
Okay.
And it really wouldn't have been a good look for anybody involved, really, if we decided to make him the main character.
Did you not have any other individuals that you could potentially have made the main character for that?
We did a bunch of interviews, but he was kind of
he was the one who built the
tied
story
everybody
around.
together. Yeah. Not presenter necessarily, but the one that was leading us towards other people and leading the story.
Yeah, he was like the main character. The whole story was kind of built around, was it? Yeah.
And that was just heartbreaking because he, on the surface, looked like a very nice guy as well. But then, again, as I said earlier, these are troubled people.
That would have been an amazing. That could have potentially changed the whole avenue of your career path, really. Because that could have potentially take you onto the documentary kind of route.
I mean, we were in the talks with like BBC, Channel 4, that they wanted to buy the footage off of us, but we're like, no, we want to tell this story our way. We want to get it out there.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it never happened, but it's still a great memory. Sleeping on the cold floors.
Where was it in London?
Yeah, it was in. Oh my god, I wish I remembered the name of the street.
Is it like Hyde Park area? Like you talking like Chelsea? You talking?
I'm not sure, it's called Belgravia.
Oh yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, it
That's
was
mental.
Yeah.
So then, obviously, that was going to be your third year final project.
Yeah.
What did you have to do now instead then to see?
So we kind of folded back onto a different idea, which was this Airbnb in Bristol that was run by this lady called Madame Toad. Because she had this weird obsession with toads and frogs, and the whole Airbnb, which was this old Victorian house, was completely top to bottom filled with toad memorabilia. And she was just a character, man. And I don't know if she's still alive. If she is, I wish her all the best. She was incredible. And a guest as well. I think that's the kind of place that if you want to go to, you need to be particular. And that project, actually, we won a couple of awards for that with the Royal Television Society students. Cool. I think we won Best Edit and Best Soundtrack, I believe.
Nice.
If I'm not mistaken. And there's actually another funny story in there, which is I found that a few years later. They took photos of us with this award.
At the award ceremony.
Yeah. Right, so that was uni.
Yeah.
And surely we should have some rights to this footage. A few years later, the girl that was in the course with me messaged me, was like, have you seen these photos on this stock website that we are on? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And somebody put that photo of us holding the award on a stock website like iFootage or something like that, and Photoshop themselves in it with us. Why? And to this day, I have no idea why. We've been, trying to break our brains to try and figure out why somebody would do that, but also why would the university release that image? And,
unless they ripped it off the website, if they're using it to promote the university.
They never gave it to us.
No.
That photo. I never saw it anywhere else. But either way, nobody asked us.
Yeah.
So, well, I hope this doesn't get me in trouble with the university. But
yeah, that's my. It's a shame, definitely, about that one. Well, obviously, we were camped up in that mansion.
We made up for it. It wasn't the same. It wasn't as, maybe groundbreaking.
Yeah.
But I'm still quite proud of the final product that we ended up having.
I get a sense, obviously, from speaking to you today, that a lot of your interests, you enjoy to making the commercial side of things, but I think your true interests maybe lie within the documentary kind of world.
Yeah.
Do you kind of see yourself maybe in the future kind of maybe trying to explore that a bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my aspirations now is, as personal projects, to try and get a little bit into the avenue, because I like documentary. I like to talk about social issues. I like to talk about mental health as well, that kind of stuff. So as a personal interest and personal projects, for sure. If there happen to also be a career path at some point, absolutely.
Are you currently working on any side personal projects?
Not at the moment. I'm still trying to figure things out.
Focusing on your actual main job.
Yeah, as I said, I want to learn, I want to grow, I want to improve my skills, so that once I get to do my own personal projects.
Your skills are very good at it, as they are.
That's true.
They are good. If you check them out on obviously Instagram, what's your Instagram handle?
I don't really post on it much anymore, but I think it's just Lorenzo_Mellano.
Yeah, the content on there is very professional, clean, and sharp.
I definitely need to update it. There's a lot of stuff that is missing.
Yeah, but you definitely got the skills and there to obviously do your documentary stuff. Where would you?
Thank you.
Have you kind of start to do the research to find the subjects that you'd want to do? Where would you start if you wanted to get a topic that you wanted to speak about?
Sometimes I think stories cannot come your way. It was actually last year a project that I would have loved to do, and which happened by complete happenstance, which I was in an Uber, and the guy that was driving me started telling me about the fact that he had a lot of exotic animals.
Right, okay.
And my assumption is that these are animals.
Cogs started going.
Yeah, probably animals that got here not very legally.
Yeah.
Because he was talking about snakes, crocodiles, lemurs and monkeys.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. And I just would have loved to interview him. And initially it was done for it, but then the kind of lead went cold. I think it was a bit scared about, maybe his face getting out.
Yeah, because they're happy to talk to you in an Uber, but as soon as you maybe put a camera in front of their face, completely different kettle of fish then, isn't it?
But yeah, other than that, at the moment, I haven't really got anything going. I would love to at some point. I kind of relatively new to my new job. Yeah, so I'm still trying to find my foot in there. But once I've got enough confidence to be able to use my spare time, I would love to get involved in some projects, even if it's not necessarily mine.
Yeah, but first AC or join as a cameraman, just be part of it.
Even just be there and absorb some of the knowledge, information, and be part of something that I can be proud of, essentially.
Is there any exciting projects you're working on at the moment within your current job? Obviously, you can't give us too much details, but kind of elaborate a little bit on.
So there is.
Be careful with your word.
Yeah, I need to be pretty sure we're under NDA, but also I need to be careful what I say, just in case things don't go exactly as I describe them. But there's a big project with Preberin. They've got a new build that's going to be developed over the next 2 years. So this is a 2-year project, and we're planning for a proper kind of Netflix quality, Netflix style documentary where we follow the development of this new build, which I think is going to be pretty impressive and probably groundbreaking in terms of hotel chains.
Yeah, never done before then.
Kind of,
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. And I'm really looking forward to that. We're in the planning stage. I literally finished yesterday, almost finished the pitch deck, where I just put a bunch of images and explain what we want to do. And if we get to do what we would like to do, it's just going to be probably one of the things that I'm the most proud of.
Yeah. And obviously that'll be released then in 2 years, is it?
Yeah, it's
a long time, isn't it?
We're in it for the long game.
How long is that production then? Is that a 2-year production, or are you just kind of putting the shot deck together now, ready? How long is it going to take to actually film the whole development? Or?
Yeah. So we would have to go through
Every stage,
every
basically.
stage, and then once it's finished, kind of have a look back and overview
Mm-hmm.
with the people that made it, and then create the episodes, like put the episodes together. But even before we get to that stage, you know, in documentary, what's kind of funny and nice is that you need to create the story before you even know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
kind of
I'd love to do the documentary stuff, but it's like, have you ever seen like obviously the Wrexham one on Disney? You might not have seen it,
No.
but if you basically a lot of documentaries, you don't know the actual end story, so you just got to commit to the project, hoping the end story be worth telling that story.
Exactly. But there's loads of opportunities in there to try and spin it.
Yeah,
You know,
you could go off in a different avenue.
Yeah. Sometimes a story might start in one way and then takes a deviation that's even more interesting.
Yeah,
One of my favorite things about documentaries is that, you know, as everybody always says, life sometimes is more bizarre than fiction.
mm-hmm.
And when you can capture that, I personally find the documentaries can be even more interesting there, you know.
Yeah, I'm definitely a
Big
documentary kind of
blockbuster movies
person.
and things like that.
Do you like the nature side of documentary thing, or do you rather tell a story, like an individual story or a group story in documentary?
I think, because I'm a very big nature person, I love being outdoors. I've actually recently moved kind of to the outskirts of Cardiff just because I wanted to be closer to...
What's your postcode? Go raid his house.
no, don't dox me, please. But I would love to do nature stuff. I would love, especially
Environments and stuff like
animals.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a friend of mine who I think he's going to become the next David Attenborough.
that. Yeah.
Because he just loves it. And I would love to be involved with him if possible at some point. But I wouldn't necessarily say it's my main goal. If it happens and if I can do it, that'd definitely be one of those things that I will be proud and happy that I did it.
And then obviously finally before we go, because we nearly done an hour already, what is your kind of like future goals within maybe say the next 2 to 3 years? Kind of what are you kind of aiming and predicting for?
So as I said, at the moment, my main focus is in improving my abilities and skills.
Even though your abilities are a very high level already.
You know, they can never be too good, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
But
Good way to look at it.
Certainly improve there. I would love to see the company that I work with grow and new clients. We've got a lot of prospecting clients in the pipeline that seem very, very exciting. So it'd be nice to grow that aspect, you know, and just get more interesting names under our belt. And then, you know, as I said, when I'm ready, personal projects.
Yeah.
And maybe, you know,
That'd be cool.
I'll hit you up and let you know.
Yeah, I'll come and help, be behind the scenes BTS cameraman or second shooter if you need it.
Yeah, I would love that.
I'd be well up for that. For people, obviously, maybe want to follow your story, even though you need to update your account. Give them the @ again on Instagram so they can follow along.
I believe, actually, it's been so long since I checked it. It should be Lorenzo _
Yeah, it might
Mellano.
be an underscore.
Lorenzo _ Mellano. And
Go and follow along on your journey.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly will be posting about this. So this might be the catalyst to me coming back to Instagram.
I'd just like to say thank you very much for coming on. It's been a long time since I've seen you.
Thank you for having me.
I look forward to seeing some of the content you put out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely if you get back into the documentary stuff.
And I'm looking forward to seeing more of this.
Yes.
And seeing more of
hopefully South Wales, you know, we'll see a bit more content creation, stuff like that.
Mate, you'll never run out of people to discuss.
Well, I'll have to
creation.
get your phone book and have a look.
Don't worry. I can get you some people for sure.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming on.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy.